This regular city council meeting of the town of Pecos City is now called to order. Today's date is May the 25th. Time is 5:30 p.m. Let the record show that all council members are here. If you have your cell phone, please put it on silent at this time. Please stand for the invocation by Councilman Saldana and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Sills.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening, Lord Heavenly Father. We ask for guidance, we ask for wisdom, Lord Father God, as we go through these items that have come before us. And Lord Father God, we know that your hand is upon this city and upon every entity that's in this city, Lord Father God. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the guidance that you have given us, Lord. And thank you for all that you have done, for the blessings you have bestowed on each and every one of us, for the healing of our bodies, Lord Father God. Lord, for the love and the peace that you show us. And Lord Father God, we thank you, Lord Father God, that you are such a good God unto us. And thank you for all that you do for us, Lord. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comments? Okay. So we go to the consent agenda. Approval
Sorry,
of.
I had a public comment. This is Gomez, IT Director. We're in council now and introduce our new IT clerk, Stephanie Munoz. She started with us as a summer intern last year and then came back in the winter and never left.
Right.
So we recently transitioned her from intern to IT clerk, so she's now full-time with us.
Okay, welcome.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Any other public comments? Okay. We'll go on to our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes from May 11th, regular council meeting, and approval of expenditure report.
Mr. Lino, on page 23,
Yes, ma'am.
on the John Thomas, the leasing of the signal light at 80th Street,
Yes, ma'am.
is that monthly? What
That's
is
a monthly amount, yes, ma'am.
So
It's
when is-
$58,000 a month. We had it for, we entered into the agreement for 6 months, and I expect we will have, we're looking for the box right now. Yes, he's working with Willis Electric, trying to procure the box to replace the one that we have. And he said it's going to take anywhere between 4 and 6 months. So that's why we have those, it's not a fun expense, but it's something that we're going to have to incur. One positive to that is we are going to make sure that we submit to the insurance company along with the damage to try to recoup what we owe.
Okay. So I was wondering how much longer that situation was going to be there.
Yeah, as long, until we can get the control cabinet and the inside, it looks like they found the cabinet. Now they're just making sure they have all the parts that need to be done because it's going to have to be redone.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. One thing that I will throw out there also, because there's questions sometimes, on the front of the page, number 19 for West Texas Consultants, it says West Pecos Water System. Well, I just don't want it to be confused with West Pecos Management District. It is for our new water well source.
I was about to ask that question. I was about to ask that.
That's why I needed to jump on that,
Thank
because
you.
I wanted to make sure that we let you all know. And I will have a conversation with Amherst and make sure that the nomenclature on there is changed, so it's not confusing that way.
For suspect confusion.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, I don't remember what page it was on, for road paint.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that paint going to be used?
Miss Holly, we've already used it some. We used it on the city's parking lot on the,
The road paint?
yes, ma'am.
The road paint is actually, we're going to be utilizing it in We're striping throughout the city, parking lot as we have used, and we're also going to be working on Stafford Street at the intersection location, where we can actually utilize it.
Okay. Because there's some areas that could really use it.
Pardon me?
Are some areas that could certainly use some paint, and
Yes.
just kind of wanted to make sure it was going in some of those areas where we've had some concerns.
It is, the one that is not going on yet, that we're not gonna do anything yet, is Eddie Street, because we're waiting on, to find out on the,
We're,
on
yes,
the
Eddie
warranty
Street,
side of
we're
it.
actually in the process of working on our warranty. The some warranty concerns that we had on Eddie Street after the construction was completed. And the county is happy to repaint it for us, but we need to have the warranty process completed, which means the contractor should be coming back out to correct some areas first.
So a timeline on that?
I don't have a timeline. We just completed the inspection last week with the contractor.
Okay.
And so now I'm just going to be waiting for the timeline when the contractor himself, the original contractor for that particular street, which was CDM, they are not our current winner of our group Silco program. So they did assure me that they're going to expedite repair.
Okay.
And we are going to help them remember to expedite.
Yes.
I like the problem, because it's an eyesore, we get calls every day on Eddie Street right now.
Yes.
So in talking with Curtis Wilson, he is the county engineer who coordinates the striping for us, and his concerns were the loose rock and wasting material and the loose rock going and causing the lines to go out. So that is one of the reasons we have not initiated any additional striping.
Okay. Thank you.
On page 5, we have Zener Performance. Is that,
That's the current water meters that we utilize. Okay. And we're still in the process, we're about 98% down on Center. Maybe 99%.
Yes, I would say 98, yes.
Yeah.
this
Absolutely.
is all our
This is.
electronic meters and all
Yes,
that?
sir. And they're working good. They're working relatively well. Not relatively well, they're working very well. And our billings are much more accurate than they ever have been, probably for the last 20 or 25 years.
And a lot of the ones you see being replaced now are the old style meters that we just retrofitted. They're not really working right, so rather than get the new retrofit parts in, we're just changing them out completely to the Zener meters that will function like everything else. That's why you see a few more than what we anticipated.
And are we gonna get more accurate readings?
Absolutely.
So the bills are gonna go slightly up. That's just, people need to know that.
They may slightly go up, but I don't think it will be enough that they'll notice it in most cases. Now, there'll be some outliers out there that
Yeah.
are gonna, because if it's not working at all and we're charging a minimum bill, once we get a good reading,
Yeah.
it's definitely gonna go up. But that's gonna be an outlier, ones and twos. That's not gonna be the norm.
Okay,
Most of them should be pretty close to what they're paying now.
okay.
Yeah, Donnie, and in saying that, I had talked to Mr. Lino about that. The new lids on your water, where your water meters are,
Yes, sir.
those we can't open them anymore.
Exactly. I don't want people opening.
Right.
Because we've got wires and stuff in there, when they open those, they break them, then we gotta go back and fix them. That's why, and it's actually in the plumbing code that you have to have a cutoff before the first branch at your house. So before it goes anywhere into the house or anything, you have to have a cutoff. Usually they put it right at the meter. Now, we haven't been requiring that people retrofit from back in the day, 40 years ago, when they didn't require that.
Right.
But if they need to shut their water off more frequently than to call us once every couple of years so they have to fix something, then they need to go ahead and put that cutoff in there. Because I can't allow people in those meters anymore, because it's not as simple as just turning the knob and turn it off anymore. You gotta be careful of those wires and all that. So.
Yeah, but still, some people are tight on money. So, it's a very delicate situation there, because,
Well, I mean, if it's an emergency and we need to cut it off, all you gotta do is call the emergency number and we'll come out and turn it off for you. I would rather send my guys out there to turn it off than break wires, and then they have to spend half a day.
Yeah, you might wanna
So if
in the
you-
water bill, insert an informational,
We could probably put something together like
Yeah.
that, I would imagine.
Yeah, we can add something.
Yeah,
to that.
'cause-
Yeah, I
Have
just,
that capacity.
I mean, I don't mind going out there and turning the water off if they got a leak or something, but I just can't let people get in there themselves anymore.
and not to, I guess not to let the cat out of the bag, but those keys are sold, to open those.
Yeah, that's true. They
Yeah.
are, so. But it keeps the ones that
The
go out
honest.
there and look, they're like, well, I better call somebody.
Yeah.
so.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion from Councilman Arona to approve the consent agenda, a second from Councilwoman Seals. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let the record show that the consent agenda has passed. Okay, presentation of Animal Control Officer Award recognition, Ms. Tarongo?
Mayor, Council, Lisa Tarango, Chief of Police. On May the 11th, I received an email from Mara Hartzell. She's actually the support shelter coordinator in American Pets Alive, which is also Austin Pets Alive. And with that, she sent a letter, which you should be able to see in her packet, and it's commending our animal control officer, Christy Wright, for the work that she's done. And attached, she says, attached is a letter of commendation for Christy Wright, Director of Pecos Animal Control. Ms. Wright has impressed our team a great deal this year, and I hope this letter serves as a token of our appreciation. So it says, please accept the letter of recognition and commendation of Christy Wright, Director of Pecos Animal Control. Throughout Ms. Wright's partnership with American Pets Alive, Ms. Wright has demonstrated an outstanding level of initiative, leadership, and resourcefulness in many areas, most notably the area of life saving. This March and April 2023 was elated to see Pecos Animal Control achieve historic shelter live release rate numbers, which is 85 to 95%, which a year ago, 2 years ago, was quite the opposite. Ms. Wright is to be commended for her tireless efforts towards improvement, especially in such a challenging time for animal welfare professionals. Throughout Ms. Wright's collaboration and relationship with AMPA, she has successfully navigated many complex situations in a fast-paced animal shelter environment. She sets a shining example of perseverance. Her respect for others and the spirit of service are always evident, and her recent accomplishments have the potential to influence not just her proud local community, but also larger communities of Texas and their animal shelters. Ms. Wright shows others exactly what is possible when you put your heart and mind to action. As a former shelter director and present-day industry consultant, I remain personally grateful for Ms. Wright's efforts, and I'm happy to endorse her abilities without reservation. Ms. Wright has represented Pecos Animal Control, Pecos Police Department with distinction, and I speak for all of AMPA when I say I am excited I am able to be working alongside with her, moving toward an even better future for the pets in the city of Pecos.
Congratulations.
So I'll have Christy come up and present her with this letter of appreciation.
Great job, great job.
Here we go. So talking with Christy, she agrees it's not just her alone. You know, luckily there's two more, and you guys as a council have really seen the need of animal control and the needs of the community. Yes, we still have animals at large that we're still working on, but I think the numbers now compared to a year ago, 3-5 years ago, you can see the drastic difference. So
At
thank
least
you.
they're not being euthanized, they're being adopted and transferred.
That's the live release rate. We've reached 85 to 95% live release. That means every animal that comes into the shelter, 85 to 95% of those leave our shelter alive. Whether that's through rescue or adoption, barn cats, whatever means we can get them out of that shelter alive, that's how they're leaving.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Christy.
Thank you.
Okay, F2, presentation of letter of appreciation to Permian Resources for a donation of 30 Afghan pine trees to the community. Got a letter. On behalf of the City Council and Mayor Teresa Winkles, we would like to thank Permian Resource Development for the generous donation of 30 6-foot Afghan pine trees designed for Pecos, Texas weather. Julie Hinkle, Manager of Community Services and Facilities Management, coordinated the efforts of their staff to include over 20 company volunteers and their time in planting trees in and around the Fairview Cemetery. This is a significant milestone to be proud of. Each year, Permian Resource Development continues to advance its mission to support beautification within the communities like ours. We, the community, thank you for your hard work, time, and investment. And Holly, you'll take care of sending that?
Yes, I'll get it.
Okay. F3, proclamation declaring May 25th as Stop the Bleed Day. Stop the Bleed Day proclamation, Town of Pecos City. Whereas Stop the Bleed is a national public health campaign launched at the White House ceremony in 2015. Whereas its goal is to save lives by training people across the country how to stop traumatic bleeding. Whereas excessive bleeding is the leading cause of death for those under the age of 40. Whereas the campaign is a public-private partnership led by the U.S. Department of Defense and supported by a number of organizations, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Stop the Bleed Coalition, the American Red Cross, the American College of Surgeons, the American College of Emergency Physicians, and the American Heart Association. Whereas the campaign is based on the lessons the Department of Defense learned in Afghanistan and Iraq on the best ways to treat traumatic injuries involving severe blood loss. Whereas each year, the fourth Thursday of May has been proclaimed Stop the Bleed Day by the campaign to engage the public to learn more about how to become empowered to save lives. Now, Therefore, I, Teresa Winkles, Mayor, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2023 as a special day to show our support for the Stop the Bleed campaign and proclaim it as Stop the Bleed Day, and encourage all citizens to participate in the Stop the Bleed campaign by learning how to stop traumatic bleeding.
Mr. Leno, you know that schools are now getting those Stop the Bleed kits?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any, or we have
The
in
police
mind?
department has the tourniquet pieces of it. The rest of the city does not. I am working right now, having conversations, as a matter of fact, with, I've talked to Chief and I've talked to Kelly Davis, what I'd like to do is have, and I'd have to bring it back around, the amount wouldn't, but I'd bring it back when we got it done. I'm going to have the kits that they put together that have additional items in it or come up with a comprehensive kit. I've got a bunch of people asking me questions. I mean, Kelly Davis with our PD makes all the kits for all of our officers. The ESD would like to give us another kind of a kit that has some of the same stuff, but not all of the same stuff. And I want to make sure that we have them in every single vehicle that we have, and every single building we have. Right now, we do not have them. Some of the trucks have first aid kits, but as we all know, most first aid kits we buy have 10,000 Band-Aids and one little tube. Yeah, exactly. And so we are working on that, sir, and I'm hoping that we can get that done.
And then the orange usually
Next
expires.
60 to 90 days.
And I know
Yeah, it is, exactly. It is.
And I know, that we're talking about first aid kits and Stop the Bleed, but thinking of safety, fire extinguishers in the vehicles and monthly inspections on these fire extinguishers.
They can talk to you, that's exactly what we talked about in our last safety meeting that we had. And we will have the little 2.5-pound extinguishers in all the vehicles as well as those kits.
Okay.
Is there
And
some
then,
training
Julie-
for those Stop the Bleed?
There is, and ESD is certified to do it and is offered to do that for us. And it's just a matter of scheduling right now. And they've offered, and when we do schedule those, I will make sure that we reach out to you also, that you all would like to do it also. We did a couple here, but I think we need to, it needs to be more prevalent, so I think I want them to come here. And they'll do it for free, they said, so I like the price.
Yeah.
So,
Fire extinguishers, are they gonna be hydrostatic tested yearly and monthly inspections on them?
Mayor, is Mr. Draco here for him?
Yes, we already have those in our
F-15.
vehicles, they are tested.
We're gonna bump it up.
Yearly, they do get the labels put on
No,
it.
let's
Yeah.
put it
As
after
well as,
executive
we
session.
do monthly trainings where the officer is very familiar with where they're at, as well as animal control throughout our building. Each one of those fire extinguishers are, tested yearly. I know Holly does a lot for the building side of things, so she helped us with the fire extinguishers, the AEDs, and vehicles as well as in our buildings as well.
The reason I'm asking is, we get trained yearly, and it'd be amazed from one year to the next when we get a pan of diesel and light it up, how many people forget from one year to the next how to aim, squeeze, and
Yeah.
pull,
Yeah.
And our
so,
plan is, once we outfit all the vehicles, because those things are so inexpensive and they're hard to check,
mhm.
we'll buy new ones every
Oh,
year.
yeah,
Use the
definitely.
old ones, and you do the training with the old ones, so that everybody actually has to use.
Yes, sir,
That's our plan.
okay.
And as a city, we have done the Stop the Bleed training. It's been a couple of years. They did provide us kits at that time, although probably not for every vehicle, but there were a lot of staff that did participate. And in fact, some of the staff is certified to instruct that as well. I know Donnie and I, and some of the officers were also certified to instruct that Stop the Bleed class. So I think in conjunction with the ESD, if they want to offer it, it's a great partnership.
Thank you.
Okay, F4, discuss and consider appointment of mayor pro tem for the Town of Pecos City Council.
I'd like to make a motion that Councilman Arona continue in the position of Mayor Pro Tem.
I second.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Seals to appoint Councilman Arona as our mayor pro tem, and a second by Councilwoman Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You
I'm
don't
gonna
count?
oppose myself.
No.
Let the record show the motion carries. And we're going to skip to item F15. Discuss the possibility of placing speed bumps in the streets surrounding Pecos High School, including Park and Washington Streets.
I knew somebody was gonna not like that.
And I think he's here.
No. Mayor and council, this is an item that we asked that we bring back and put on the agenda because we had had general discussions but didn't have it as an agenda item. First of all, Charles Lino, city manager. And I can tell you that I think it was it was the next day after that. I told you that I'd had the discussion with Mr. Jaco, our superintendent, and so we went to breakfast and discussed it at breakfast. So we did.
Who bought?
I didn't. Did I buy this time?
This time you bought.
This time I bought. Last time you did. I don't even know.
It's a
But
trade-off.
Mr. Jacob and I were going back and forth on emails this week, and he said he wanted to be here because he's definitely, even though it sounds like maybe everybody's questioning where, he is definitely for it. It's just that we have a lot of items going on right now. We discussed everything, and that's why I wrote this agenda item like that about the speed bumps as well as about the parking issues. He and I addressed both of those, and I'm going to let, if it's okay with you, have Mr. Jaco come up and give you all his point of view on it and some of the logistical issues that we'll be dealing with over the next couple of years.
How many breakfasts does he owe you?
We're even. We're even at this point. Brent Jacobs, Superintendent of Schools for Pecos Parsons Toya ISD. It is truly an honor to be here in Pecos and have a great partnership that we have with the city. Working with Charles has been fantastic, and the rest of his staff on all the work that we're trying to do within the district has been great. Working with Donnie and chief and others has been phenomenal in all the things that we're doing. As Mr. Lino mentioned, we discussed the parking on Park Street. I suggested just change the name. Park on Park Street seems to, yeah, I mean, something other than park, but no.
It leads to people to doing
Yeah,
that.
seriously, it has been a concern of mine. I did not address that with Mr. Lito, but I've noticed that more and more people are parking there. I have inquired about the reasons why. We do parking passes for our students, and as a result of getting a parking pass, you are subject to random drug testing. We have a number of students that want to avoid random drug testing for whatever reason. And we also have a number of students that we know may drive to school that do not have driver's license or do not have associated insurance requirements to obtain a parking pass. And so it's probably a combination of those reasons why some students are parking in that area. The other issue that I mentioned this week in an email with Mr. Lino, an exchange, was we, as y'all know, we have a lot of construction going on at the school, and as such, there's construction fences and limitations in parking. Ultimately, down the road, we will have more parking than what we ever had before. So it's just a matter of getting to that point and having some pains along the way. I talked to our police force, and our police chief and a couple officers are all for working with Pecos PD in the city with regards to issuing citations and or towing to help curb that, whatever may need to be done. We're at the end of the school year. It shouldn't be much of an issue now going into the summer months. We'll work with our general contractor on identifying places to park and those types of things, but we definitely want to continue the partnership and work with the city, but we do have some hiccups as we're moving with construction and doing some things and limitations over there, and there are going to be some pain points along the way, as I've told my staff through some things, but we want to continue to try to work together on all those issues. I'll be glad to answer any questions that y'all may have.
And the reason because I've had people, those few houses right there in the park.
Right, yes, sir.
I've had some of those residents complain about cars speeding right after school, during school, and whatnot, that's even on Washington. I used to live in the corner of 8th in Alberta, saw them all the time. Now a little bit further south, but.
Yeah, I'm all for the speed bumps. My only hesitation with that now is that we are going to be doing some significant utility work with sewer and plumbing and water and all of that, and tying into the city at street locations, and some of that is tearing up the street in that process. And so what I wanted to try to avoid in this interim time frame of trying to build a new high school there is to put a speed bump down that ultimately has to come right back up and kind of be up for a period of time, because we're trying to tie into city utilities along the way. So I don't know if there's, I've seen temporary speed bumps that you can kind of nail into the ground and do some of those things. Maybe there's something along that line that we can do temporarily as we progress towards a long-term fix, and then see how the parking layout's going to be and tie it appropriately to that, and work together on how that all plays out in the long run.
And maybe the signs we have, maybe they need a little bit more stronger language. Maybe to the point of a fine and.
Well, and we have some different leadership at the campus level now as they talk to students. I think some of that's going to change. He recognizes there's some issues there. And so I'm hopeful that we'll have a better school year going into that with regards to parking around the campus there at the baseball field and such as well. So, we're just some of the pain points of construction and working around some of that.
Does the school police have authority to issue
citations?
They have authority as any officer to issue citations or those types of things, but typically our boundary of coverage is, our school, and so that's kind of on the outside of that. It's still within that 300-foot range, and so it's really developing a good partnership with the chief and the city on that, and we're in the transition Chief Camarillo has resigned, and so we're looking for a new police chief as well too. And so it's, kind of trying to come together and correct some of that. I've already asked her. She's already turned me down.
Good job.
So I do have a previous MOU with school district police on that area around the schools as far as the parking goes, with an understanding that they would kind of be the first layer, if you will, that would deal with that. And then there was additional layers with us as the police department, and I think even the sheriff's department, you see them quite often there. So of course, all of them state certified police officers, but we do have the ordinance there that covers the illegal parking, and we have towed, although we hate to get to that point where it has to come to that. But, like Mr. Jaco said, there's a partnership and a continued agreement that we can continue working and helping with those areas. But it is kind of chaotic there right now with construction, and that's understandable. Like you said, there's going to be probably more than enough parking when it's done, and that's not even the issue really. It's the kids who don't have the ability, like you said, to get a license or don't get one, insurance, that type of stuff that seem to have been problems over the years.
And you say that poses some other concerns.
Yes.
Well, some of them may be avoiding drug testing as well too, but I think there's probably more that don't have the license or don't have the insurance that are driving. And that, to me, that raises a whole other level of issues and concerns than where they're parking.
There was a study a couple of weeks ago that I saw that more teenagers are not wanting to get a license. They know how to drive, so their mindset is, and the way of thinking, how we were brought up is a little bit different, I guess.
Councilwoman Trujillo, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Logistically, how hard would it be just to access, to limit, close the street, especially during construction? Because I was at high school this past week. I was substitute teaching there, and we were wondering, logistically, how is it going to work? Because you've got parking lot, you've got people walking through, and construction site there. So would it be, to close off the perimeter? I don't know.
I don't know that closing off, that raises a whole other level of issues. There's people that live right there, that, are trying to.
I think Washington is what I was.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Even
it's
Washington,
hard.
you got some homes there and trying to access and get to those points. You got, people that may want to access the graveyard as well too. We still, have construction deliveries and those types of things. It's just going to be a busy area for a couple years. Just from a timeline standpoint, we will probably have a GMP for phase 1 of the high school to the board by the spring, if not sooner, which will entail demolition of the high school and start that demolition process. As that CTE center is supposed to open in August of 2024, July of 2024. So basically a year from now, that CTE center will be opened, and then we'll immediately roll into demolition. We'll have temporary classrooms, portable classrooms that will be lined up there probably along Park Street. Will probably be lined up there along Park Street and fenced off and all of that as part of this transition phase. All of that area will ultimately become a parking lot. And so where all those trees are and that grass is and that building is there along Park Street will ultimately become a parking lot. And so with a drop-off lane like we're going to offer at the elementary schools, a nice long drop-off lane that won't allow people to just drop off from the street and run the risk of kids getting hit or something like that as they're crossing the street. We want the drop-off lane. And so we're working towards that. We're working towards that with our whole total safety feature, but it's going to take some time to get there. But the architects and the construction team, we're meeting regularly to push as fast as we can. And it just still takes time. But 3 years from now, we'll fly by and we'll have a brand new, beautiful high school in the town of Pecos City, which will be awesome.
Excited for that.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing.
Yes.
It is, and Mr. Jaco and I also talked, and when we were talking about the speed bumps, we also want, we were just talking about logistics and where the need is at, and he sees, and I don't disagree with him, definitely we need some on Washington Street. better strategically placed than we did last time, on Park Street as well as on Iowa Street.
Yeah, Iowa Street is a raceway as well too, back there. You may know that.
I live it every
Plus
day.
on the
Iowa
other side of
Street's a
the-
raceway as well, and so having them, especially down by the auditorium and that first part of that stadium area, is definitely needed there.
Well, didn't we have speed bumps on the other side of the baseball field too, whatever street
Yeah,
that
what the-
is?
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
And Alamo.
Elizabeth, yeah.
Well, there's a hump there, but it's
There's
not
a-
much
yeah,
of a
it's
speed
It's not,
bump.
it's not much, yeah, it's kind of worn down.
And I know in the past when we put those speed bumps, although they were in absolutely the wrong place because they were right at the intersection instead of a
Yeah.
little bit back, some of the concern, because some of those speed bumps were pretty high. And I know it caused a problem for law enforcement, ambulance, fire, because they were trying to get someplace and there was those constant speed bumps.
Yeah.
So there's a pro and con.
There's
kinda
always a
going
pro
on
and
here.
con with it. There's always, pluses and minuses with any type of safety feature you're trying to do. I mean, we're adding film to the exterior glass windows of our schools and at the entry points. And with that, while, that may slow up an intruder, it definitely prevents,
Them
safety
from seeing it.
features from accessing the building when they need to. And so there's always pros and cons with any safety approach.
And Chief, how do you feel about speed deterrent bumps there?
I mean, yes, any of that's helpful, obviously, I think, again, law enforcement, ESD will learn how to maneuver some of that stuff, hopefully with the equipment, but, we support that, wherever it's safety, especially when the kids are involved, we can make it work.
And I hate to say it, but I know Mr. Parker will disagree with me, but we need them in more than just around the high school, really. In our town.
And I'm just thinking out loud here,
Yeah.
and probably should have had this conversation offline, but we do safety, we do traffic studies for every one of our campuses, and just to figure out exactly car length and car parking lot and all of those things. And as we continue to develop the high school, there will be a traffic study done, if it's not already done. But we can work with those traffic engineers with the layout of what our parking lot will be like, and then think about appropriate placement on speed bumps and things along the way. So we'll, again, the partnership that the school district has with the city has been phenomenal. We'll continue that and work to make good decisions to benefit our students and the citizens of the town of Pecos City.
And that's a good answer, because, that way I can take back to the people that have been asking quite a bit about it, that it would be best to wait, they're coming, but because of your studies of the demographics of how we want to put it. And
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes there at Park in Washington in the coming 3 years. It'll be a completely different place, and when I get a chance to come out here, I'll give you all a presentation of what the high school will look like and kind of that master plan piece. After we get a little further down the road, I'll be glad to come out and give you all a presentation of that.
thank you. Look forward to it.
Does this have to get authority from the city to put the speed bumps on motion?
Yes.
Yes,
Do they have to get a
streets.
permit or anything like that? or?
It would probably be a collaborative effort. The city's not gonna, it would require a permit, but we'd pay our own bill. So it's not gonna be a charge to it.
Oh, shucks.
It's a city, and part of that is
That-
because it's a
that's
city
fair.
infrastructure. It's city infrastructure, so.
Okay.
So
You
nice.
can delete him off your Christmas card.
Y'all have any more questions for me?
No,
Thank y'all very much. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
your service and time. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item F6, F5, F6, and F7, I understand from Mr. Lino that we're going to postpone those to the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need a motion?
I do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to postpone items F5, F6, and F7 pending information being provided.
Can I ask a question, though?
I'll second.
What was the motivation to postpone? They just didn't have it ready, or?
No, there's
Well,
no to it.
I have to, I'll say this as politically correct as I can. They have not had access to the folders that you all were supposed to have, or working on sheets had access to.
I just sent y'all the documents right before the meeting started, so.
You did what?
I sent y'all the documents before the meeting started, so you'll have it for the next week.
Okay.
And we think you need
Plenty of
at
time.
least a week, if not 2 weeks, to review that, because it was a significant amount of input.
Yes.
Well, this is better than any other that we've had prior.
It is, well, it definitely is, but there's probably still gonna be some questions, and I can tell you that, Amber can attest, being the chair of the HOT committee, that, the HOT committee, asked a significant number of questions also, so, that's one of the reasons why she came, and she'll come, I hope, at our next meeting, because, I want you all to get it straight from the chair of the HOT committee, exactly their point of view and where they were at.
Thank you for the lead that y'all are taking.
They were.
I'm sorry.
I said, thank you for the lead that y'all are taking. You got us in the right direction.
The books were very detailed, just so you know. It was what we were asking for the times before, and I know council had asked for them also. And so when we asked for breakdown, that's why the binder was so big, was because each item was broken down and they showed, if it was a billboard, they showed the billboard, they showed the pricing. There were things that could have been broken down a little more, but it was very detailed, and a lot of time was spent on it. But it did help us ask the appropriate questions that needed to be asked to make decisions.
Thank you.
So I have a motion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a motion.
Yeah. Do I need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So I have a motion from Councilwoman Seals to postpone item F6, F5, F6, and F7 to the next meeting, and a second by Councilman Graham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I let the record show the motion carries. F8, discuss and consider Resolution 2352R, a resolution authorizing a budget amendment to enter into an agreement with Terralogic Document Systems for off-site source document scanning.
Okay, Mayor Council, in your packets, you'll find a resolution, and then the second attachment's a statement, what's a quote from Terralogic. So what they're proposing to do is we have a bunch of documents upstairs. We have a public works office. It has all of our old maps, easements, plats. And what they would do is come and pick up all of our documents and take them out to El Paso, and they would scan them and digitize everything for us. And so it's basically like what they did with all of my documents in my office. They've scanned all my resolutions from the beginning of the city. So I have all the history, all our documents are digitized. So it makes it a lot easier when people are looking for documents. It's a lot easier and accessible for us to dig through those things. So that's what this is for, and it'll be for all of our public work documents.
Didn't we, 2 meetings ago, didn't we approve an amount on that, or did?
No,
I'm just dreaming.
this is the first time I've
Okay.
presented this.
There was something around
There was
70.
some shredding or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to come to the 21st century, I guess.
Yes, and a lot of those documents, there's things, like I know that we've been looking for easements and stuff that we have pending in court, and it would have been a lot easier just for us to do a word search on even the lot and block, and it would pull anything up with the wording of that lot and block of, and
Yeah, it would help us with some of the stuff we're doing on the west side of town.
Mm.
I think y'all all know what I'm talking about. It would help us a lot to find those documents.
Well, just looking at your pictures,
On a
going
certain
through
piece of
boxes
property
and
or
stuff.
two.
is-
yes.
And then that dust that collects, it's not good for your allergies or anything else. It's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a doctor now?
Sir,
Nothing.
I can do a lot of things now. You just don't know me
Any
that well.
concerns, Mr. Lino?
No, as a matter of fact, Sarah and I had this discussion, and it does seem, if you look at it compared to some of the other stuff that we've done, it may seem like it's expensive, but we did shop it around, we did take a look at it, and digitizing all of that is what we need to do. Number one, we're gonna free up a lot of space in there. We need to dispose of all of that stuff. We have it available electronically, where if we need to share it with any of our residents, or maybe things, we can do it that way. We may at one point get to a point where we can share stuff and anybody can look at a county record with some of those types of issues. Plus, the longer those maps sit, the fainter and fainter they go. So we have, it's like I said, we have some that we pulled that we're working with from 1984, 82, and it's starting to really fade away. We have one that was from 1950 something.
And they
Really
scan all my
hard to see.
documents, so they scan things from 1908,
Yeah.
and they have all the equipment they need to do it properly and not mess with the documents.
Will it enhance the print or?
It does.
Okay,
It does,
great.
yeah, they have ways to get the clarity on it, and it'll give us an electronic document that we can research, and we have for historical purposes and for legal purposes when we're having the discussions about, well, you all are encroaching on my property, or we're encroaching on, we say that you're encroaching on ours, we have, at least have some documentation that we can present that shows we have that item, without having to go through those map doors and look for each one, and then try to get a magnifying glass to see if we can see it. It's gonna be, I think it's a very good investment for the price of it.
Is this the same company you used for yours?
Yes, ma'am. And like Mr. Lima says, we do have access. I don't utilize it. I would like to. Eventually we might, but where you can make it public so people can just go in there independently and search for documents.
They get it, they have to come in to get it, or do they get it
No,
online?
just, the same way you do with the county clerk, where you go on their
Online.
website and search for it.
Because it's public information.
It is, absolutely.
It is.
And it's just another service we can provide out there for anybody trying to, with their properties, if they're looking at something, they'll be able to pull up multiple maps, multiple surveys, and see what plans or original plans on certain areas that they want.
And the nice thing about this one, the county doesn't do it, but I love mine because you can just do just one word you remember off of the resolution or minutes or any, you just type that in the search bar and it'll pull up every document that has that. So it makes searching for things a lot easier. Yes.
Good.
And this is a one-time shot, we'll have to do it ongoing moving forward, but it's not gonna be this big thing. We're trying to digitize everything that we have up there, that's been up there forever. So that's one of the other reasons why it has a fairly significant cost.
Yes, it's about 2-3 rooms.
Yeah.
So what's their timeline for getting it done?
Sergio told me it would take up to 6 months to get it done, but they're very good when they had my documents for about 5 months. But if I needed anything, I would email them and they would have it to me by the end of the day. So
That was my next
yeah, they're very
question.
receptive. Yeah, they're responsive.
So you're gonna do sections at a time, or just take the whole?
Take everything, but you
Okay.
take it all and they'll bring it back. Yeah.
Okay.
So on an ongoing, once you've got all the history, then are y'all able to scan here, or do you have to still send everything to El Paso to be scanned?
No, we can do that here. So I have everything. I started scanning everything here in 2016 when I started. So I have 2016 to now. So this is just going to scan everything prior to that.
Is this a budget item, or is it?
It is not.
This
It's
is to amend the budget.
We're talking about using,
I don't have my reading glasses, so can't.
we're looking at utilizing some of the contingency that we've built into there. We still have a significant portion of that, and this is minuscule in comparison to the amount that we have left. We still have $2.6 million of left, so this would take up 78,000.
Mayor, I make a motion we approve resolution 23-05-2R, resolution authorizing a budget amendment to enter an agreement with Terralogic Documents Systems for off-site source document scanning. It's presented by our city secretary, Sarah Nichols.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Arona to approve the resolution authorizing a budget amendment. Second by Councilman Saldana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let the record show the motion carries.
Thank you.
F9, update on the fire hydrant renovation program progress.
Mayor, Council, Donna McKinney, Director of Environmental Services. If we could, I would also like to combine F17 in this, because it's basically the same discussion. So if we could combine F9 and F17, I think we can knock it all out at once. So just a little bit of an update. We have 15 non-operational fire hydrants in the city right now. In the last year, we have replaced 6 non-operating fire hydrants. And as we go through here, I think by the end of the year, there will be 0 non-operational fire hydrants. We're gonna start with the easy ones that have valves in front of them, because some of our fire hydrants have been there a while, they don't have valves in front of them. So we're gonna have to get a valve insertion machine out there to insert a valve so we can turn the water off to replace those non-operational ones. So those will take a little bit longer, that's why I'm saying the end of the year. The ones that have valves, we can do within the next 2 or 3 months, but it'll take a little while longer on those other ones, so. But there are 15 right now that we've identified that are black and not operating, so.
Are they scattered, or are they?
They're scattered,
Okay.
and the ones I want to concentrate first are the ones we talked about, like around the schools and things. That's my main priority. Get those, and then we can do the ones that are a little bit further out away.
Somebody painted that one in Austin red.
I'm sorry?
Somebody painted that one that black one at Austin red, so I guess it's
It's working now.
functional.
If it's
So,
red, then they've got that one fixed, and then that's what they've been doing. And I think that one at Austin actually was just the valve was turned off, and that's why it was. So we're checking those as we go also.
Let me see your hands right
He's out of order. Okay, you gotta learn how.
So I'll entertain any other questions you have about the fire hydrants.
And,
I appreciate that.
Fire hydrants are in the budgets to purchase if we don't have them purchased.
We have several in stock. I think we'll probably have to put them in the next budget.
But we have supplies, I mean, I think we have room in our supplies right now. We budgeted related to the water and sewer.
Yeah, we do.
department. So I think we probably have a little bit of wiggle room. We also may have to come back with a budget amendment, but it's not, it could utilize fund balance, but right now with the water rate change that you all authorized, it's gonna pay for itself. So it's not gonna have a negative impact on the budget.
I would think this would be a priority item anyway.
Yeah.
It is.
And you won't see a line item that says fire hydrants, but it was built into the budget.
It's buried inside the materials.
So some of these fire hydrants, I mean, you know, like where I work, my employment, there's a lot of long lead items where we're looking at
Absolutely.
52 months, 62 months to get an item in. Are there any shipping problems or supply problems with the fire hydrants?
Yes, sir. No, as far as I know, we have had no problems getting them, as of yet. And that could change tomorrow when I go
Yeah.
call and say, hey, I need 5 more, but as of right now, there's not been a supply chain issue. And in the next council meeting, you'll see a budgeted item for a valve insertion machine. If I've got any close to the school right now, I'll probably just get the Premier Water Supply, because they have the people and the know-how and a valve insertion machine. But it was a budgeted item, I just haven't had a chance to order it yet, to get one of our own, so that when we start these fire hydrants, we'll just be able to send my guys out there. We ain't gotta wait for a company from Odessa or Lubbock or anything.
Okay. Item F10, discuss, consider resolution 230503R, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with Warren for one landfill compactor in the amount of $592,664. Mr. McKinney?
So I debated on pulling this item because I got some information today that there may be an opportunity, because this one's brand new and it's Caterpillar makes it, but it's kind of too small for what we needed, but it was the only thing that was available. So I talked to some other people today, and there's an opportunity that I want to explore before we actually purchase this one.
So would you rather table it for right now, or?
I don't know if we want to table it or kind of let you know if we can't get this other one, that we're probably going to do this one. So maybe,
What I'd like to do is maybe modify this, and if we can, and Parker's gonna have to give you direction. I think if we could modify, we need a compactor. It doesn't matter where we're getting it from, but the conversation, Donnie and I had this conversation today, I don't know where I was at the airport.
I think so.
But we have an opportunity to get something that's of similar size, and we need to wait. We really do need to wait. The one that we're looking at that's in this proposal is a lighter piece of equipment. And if we can get something that's comparable and save $300,000 or $400,000, I think I would like to do that. It would be a used piece of equipment, so that we could order something when we start working on our landfill. And for the bigger piece, but it would give us the same, in essence, the same piece of equipment with the same compaction ratio that we currently have at a discounted price. It's just that it would be a used machine instead of a new machine. So if we can, and Parker, you have to tell me, if we can do this resolution where we authorize the
Up to this
acquisition of a compactor up to this dollar amount. Okay. If Donnie and I can do it, we want to get one that'll be a little over 200,000 instead of 575. It would be a useful one. But we have to, we're doing some research on it. And this, Donnie just got this information today, and I told him not to, I wanted to have a discussion while it's on the agenda. So but I also don't want to have a special council meeting or wait 2 weeks if we have to pull the trigger on something. That's why if Parker tells me that I can do it, I'll do it, or ask Donnie to do it.
And everybody understands why this is an emergency, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows what happened.
Mhm.
Okay.
But we, I mean, maybe.
Make it more generic.
More generic, but also say not to exceed
See.
$600,000?
I think you can do it generic, say not to exceed X amount, so long as we keep in that, we're going to keep complying with our statutory requirements for the Chapter 252, which is the bids or quotes or whatever we need to do. As long as we do that, it doesn't matter if we're buying 200 or 500. As long as we comply with whatever law we have to comply with, we don't have to specifically identify it and authorize it.
And both these companies we're dealing with are on the full source and buy board, so we satisfy that requirement without getting other bids, actually.
As long as we're in compliance, I don't see why we can't just generalize it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 23-05-03R, and resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with a company for one landfill compactor, whether new or used, not to exceed the amount of $600,000 according to the purchasing requirements.
Second.
Is that good enough?
I have a motion by Councilwoman Seals to authorize the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with a company to get a landfill compactor in the amount up to $600,000, new or used. I also have a second by Councilman Arona. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show this motion carries. Item F11, discuss and consider Resolution 230504R, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with Stanley Ford Sweetwater for two 2023 Ford Super Duty F-250s in the amount of $132,375.30. Mr. McKinney?
Mayor, Council, again, Donnie McKinney, Director of Environmental Services. We've replaced most of the trucks we needed to with our water and sewer department. These two would be for the landfill. They are budgeted. We budgeted them last year, but we had to order them, so it took about 5 months to get them. So they are in now, so that's why I'm asking that we
Did the
purchase
price
two new
go
trucks.
up over the time?
Actually, it went down just a little bit.
All right.
Not much, like a few $100s, but
Hey,
still,
it's something.
that's better than going up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and these are actually a little bit cooler because we've had problems with the new ones that it's hard to get in the toolboxes because they're so tall. Well, these they actually build steps into, so you can step up on them and get in your toolboxes easier. So.
I think Donnie said it's already been corrected, but on the form we had on the agenda, on the recitals, it still has the landfill and the compactor language, so I guess we just need to make sure that that's the right stuff. I think he said it's already been corrected. I
don't know if it's been corrected on yours, but I thought it had been corrected. Does it still say Warren Cat on
It does on the ones.
It just says Warren.
Yeah.
It doesn't say Warren Cat.
Okay, yeah, well, it's actually Stanley Ford Sweetwater is where we're getting the 250s from, so.
It is for landfill, but it's not for compact.
Okay.
Right, yes.
No, it's correct, it just says Stanley Ford.
Okay, so yours does say Stanley
Yeah,
Ford?
yes, sir.
Okay, so I think most of them got correct.
Well, it's different from the top to the bottom.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
the problem.
In
That's
the
right.
recitals, in the
Yeah.
recitals, it still talks about
Yeah.
compact.
Yeah,
That's the
I saw
issue.
that.
Yeah, it sure does.
Right, Mayor, I make a motion, we approve resolution 23-05-04R, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with Stanley Ford Sweetwater for two 2023 Ford Super Duty F-250s in the amount of $132,375.30. As presented by Don McKinney, Environmental Service Director.
You have to correct the resolution.
I'll second.
I have
Go on. I'm not. I
Have
was
a
just
que-
talking over there.
have a motion by Councilman Arona to accept the resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with Stanley Ford Sweetwater for two 2023 Ford Super Duty F-250s in the amount of $132,375.30. Have a second by Councilman Saldana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The record show the motion carries.
Randy, you were out of order now.
Item F12, discuss and consider.
We'll talk about that in executive session.
Item F12, discuss and consider ordinance 230501, an ordinance authorizing stop signs at various locations as listed in this ordinance. Second reading.
Mayor, Council, Holly Jiraki, Community Services Director. This is the second reading for ordinance to place stop signs at the locations listed on the resolution as Willow, Mimosa, and Redbud at Monroe, and Willow, Mimosa, and Redbud at Lincoln Street. Those stop signs are in place due to the pre-existing traffic hazards. So just getting this for the record and transparency.
Make a motion, we approve second reading of ordinance 230501.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Councilman Graham to accept the ordinance authorizing stop signs at various locations as listed in this ordinance, the second reading, and a second by Councilman Saldana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show the motion carries. Item F13, discuss and consider ordinance 230502, an ordinance amending Chapter 58, Traffic and Vehicles of the Municipal Code of Ordinance, first reading.
Mayor, Mayor, Council, Holly Jiraki, Community Services Director. We have been talking about truck route and closing off the truck route within the city limits for quite a while. We did complete 2 town halls to obtain information from our community and how it would affect our community. And in looking at what we had on record, we had ordinance 130701. The reason for repealing is we had to update the sections referring to our truck traffic and truck route information. So what you'll see in the resolution is a corrected version of the ordinance repealing ordinance 130701 and amending the current ordinance 230502 to reflect the corrected sections, which are stated 58219, 58221, 58222, 58223, 58224, and 58225 of the municipal code, and it's primarily the regarding of definitions, exemptions, and designated truck routes, and amending ordinance 130803, section 58242 of the municipal code regarding definitions, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. So why are both of those there? Is because they were overlapped in our ordinance. And so it wasn't necessary to repeal all of 1308, but 1307, yes. And so how does this truck route, what does this ordinance mean? We pulled it all into one. If any community member wants to go into our website to say, where can I find the truck route, this is gonna come up. Once it's codified, that is, pardon me, I want to speak out of turn there. But in, what we actually addressed was exactly what council and mayor had brought to our attention regarding commercial trucks. One of those items was the exclusion of a bus. So we changed or updated the definition on commercial truck, and where it stated excluding a bus, we removed the passenger bus as an exclusion. That's where both of these two older ordinances come into play with the definitions. Both of them identified the commercial truck and excluded the passenger bus. So we have removed that, which basically means passenger bus is now going to be seen as a commercial vehicle that would need to utilize the new truck route that is going to be in place. We also have met the requirements of having the town meetings, and upon the second reading are going to provide a 30-day grace period to put this ordinance into place. The truck route, the designated truck route, is currently identified as US Highway 285 from Interstate 20 to north city limits, US I-20 frontage streets, east city limits to west city limits, US Highway 80 or 3rd Street, east city limits to west city limits, and then US Highway 17 from US Highway 80 to Interstate 20. After the 30 days grace period upon the second reading, we do already have the signage in place. We have not installed it. We are going to prepare an actual map and get it out on our social media to remind our public, and probably put it in the paper as well when we get closer to the implementation of making sure that our commercial trucks know that they need to utilize the closest route to the truck route. So how does this affect companies that currently are within the city limits? We are going to put signage in these particular locations identifying the route that they need to take. It's going to state truck route with an arrow or directional signage identifying where they need to go. Lincoln Street's a good example. A lot of people want to come in off of Plum and take Lincoln down. That's not allowed. They are going to have to enter and exit on Lincoln Street to 285. And so...
You might want to add that one, don't you think?
Add what?
Lincoln.
As a part of the truck route?
To travel eastward.
So the signage is going to be directional, pointing to the east, to 285. Yes, sir. And so we're going to strategically place them at these access points where they enter and exit.
Because there is a trucking company on,
Pardon me?
there is a trucking company on Lincoln Street.
But you don't have it here in the language?
In the language, I don't have.
For like 285, north to south, frontage roads, Highway 80,
So-
Highway 17, but you need, I feel you need to put Lincoln. Anything on Lincoln goes east to 285.
So I didn't do that because Lincoln Street will not be a commercial truck route.
But you have trucks that are
That's correct.
leaving there.
So my concern with doing that, and I appreciate what you're saying, so if I open that up, that to me would open the argument of he said, she said. Well, it says right here, Lincoln Street's a truck route, which I don't want to set the precedent that they can take Lincoln Street and then take it all the way out to Eddy Street.
No, but you can put Mimosa or Red Bud there. There is a divide.
On Lincoln Street. So what's happening, normally the trucks are either coming in off of Eddy Street or Plum Street.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we're wanting them to do, and what we've discussed in our town hall, was we're not going to say, no, you can't do business on Lincoln Street, but we want you to utilize the fastest route. Okay, well, I'm going to El Paso. I want to go down Plum Street, and I want to, get 20 right there.
Get a burrito, that's
Exactly. So our solution, first and foremost, is salvage our streets. Our solution, though, was we want anybody that's doing business in town to utilize the shortest distance to the truck route. Obviously, we're going to have trucks throughout our town because of construction and
retail
Deliveries, yeah.
business. But Lincoln Street, people coming into Lincoln Street, right there at those, and I know there's two very close, right? We still want them to exit. Councilman Arona, if we don't put that sign, there, I can anticipate that happening.
No, I'm not saying not to put the
And
sign, but in the language, that's what I'm asking.
So in the language, you're asking me, maybe I misunderstood then.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I want to see the language there that from, let's say Redbud, which is the most east street on Lincoln. From there, you travel east to 285. Don't go west. That's what I'm.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I
Well,
want the signs, that way it points to.
we certainly, we certainly can update that and make sure that we can add it. I just really didn't want to send the wrong message of opening it up, and that's how I'm interpreting it.
No,
So that's my
I
misunderstanding.
don't want to open it
Mayor,
up.
Council, again, Charles Neal, I think the way that we had voted on and looked at, on the improved truck routes, we need to stick with. The ones that we're talking about here on Lincoln Street are two different companies that already have businesses established there. I think if we were to go and we were to create it to where that's part of the truck route going from a certain street that way, we would open up an opportunity for more trucking companies to develop there, and we don't want that. That's one of the reasons why I would be opposed to doing something like that, because I think it would encourage another trucking company or them selling it, because if one of those companies decides to sell their business and move and do something else, the new owner is going to have to figure out where he's going to have their trucking company. That's going to become residential or commercial. It's not going to be for commercial trucks. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to save our roads. It's the same thing that we have with the company that is off of 285 on the east side. They can only come west to get on 285 and go down. Same thing with, we have a couple of truck, and I don't know if they're permanent or not, or they're off of Wallfall. The only way they're supposed to come out of Wallfall is come out and go directly to 285. If they're delivering somewhere on Eddy Street, that's not part of this ordinance. But I think if we open it up too much, we're going to encourage development there and get more trucking companies that want to put stuff right there. And I'd rather not do that.
I guess, maybe misunderstanding, but I don't want to open it up to anything. I want to have the directions of where they got to go
Well,
to.
they are. We're going to have directional signage and a prohibition that if they go past, that it's not open. And if we find, and if the police department finds that it's some of the companies like that, if it's the ones who are operating a business there and they're going in and out of their yard, there's not going to be an issue. But if it's others that are trying to cut through to get a shortcut to the freeway and go get a burrito also, I agree, then they're going to be cited.
And I think the ordinance addresses it because it just says all through traffic is prohibited, but they have a destination on that street, so they're not prohibited from driving. They can go to and from where they need to. It just says they have to take the shortest possible route to do so, which would be from 285. So they're still permitted under the ordinance.
Holly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we sent all those companies letters saying what they could do, right?
That's correct, we did, and the directional sign is actually going to have directional arrows identifying it.
I understand all that.
And, it's just like anything else that changes in our city, and ideally, we want to do this for the betterment of our community and our streets. It's just going to take some time for people to get used to. We don't want to stop people from doing business. But if somebody has a better idea of how we can make sure traffic is traveling in the correct direction, let me know. We're always open to more information.
Let me just clarify on the passenger bus.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, they can only be on the truck route, is that correct?
That is going to be correct. They are
It is
no longer.
correct. For any passenger bus, there's going to be
Well, let's say like
there will be
the
traffic on. There will be some bus traffic on County Road. I don't know what it is.
118, 116.
You know which one it is, Chief? The one right next to it? Yeah, that one right there, because that's where they have their place to drop off the kids from. They need to come in and out, directly back out.
It's just called
That's
County
the
Road.
discussions we've had.
It's just called County Road.
Yeah, it's County Road, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
I knew it
it
was, or West County Road or something like that.
Oh, West County
Yeah.
Road.
Okay, I just did, there's probably going to be some there, but they're restricted from any place else throughout the entire city.
Because I-
Only to do business, only to drive in and drive out.
Okay,
Good.
because I know there's a certain
I do.
bus that goes on Stafford to make a stop.
Mm.
Yep, and that's gonna have to stop, and we've had those discussions, and I will reinforce that.
I've even seen buses when they
can
were
drive-
full
they can
blown,
drive down,
stop at United
Service Road
too.
and go.
Right,
For the employees to go buy
Greyhound,
groceries.
Greyhound bus. And
So
so, again, the passenger buses that you're talking about
They're doing business.
that are going to West County Road, actually, I mean, the truck route is right in front. They can go to.
I'm not talking about that one, I'm talking about the one that makes a stop on Stafford.
On step. Again, and this is educating the public and and also utilizing our signage. We are going to be sending our map to TxDOT to help us take advantage of their installation of their signs, which also puts it on their maps, and which, helps lead their truck driver, or the truck driving community. It gives them the opportunity to identify what the best route for them based on what they're carrying, et cetera.
Because the Greyhound bus isn't an issue, I mean, it's on a truck route coming in to their stop and leaving again.
It is. The
So
only
that's
bus-
not an issue.
Yeah, and the only bus that we should see driving around our town anytime is gonna be the school district bus.
Right.
And that's the only one that is.
Those
the
are
charter
the,
buses.
those
Yeah.
are the exception
Exceptions,
within our
right.
ordinance, yes. Obviously, anything school-related, educational related, and emergency utilities, companies, contracted, for instance, through TNP. A good example is they have these other large trucks that come in and work on and install different overhead poles.
So if someone is parking on the residential street, who has the authority to go talk to them? Is it just code enforcement, or is it law enforcement if it's after 5 o'clock?
We have the ability to go talk to them at any time. Of course, we do allow code enforcement the opportunity to do that as well. So either or, depending if it's a city ordinance violation or if it's a legal parking violation.
Sometimes I feel like some of these individuals are sort of like pet owners. After 5 o'clock, they let the pets out or they bring their trucks in.
And if y'all notice that, if you'll let me know, I can always send my guys out after 5. But we have towed a lot of them, and there's been some very upset citizens.
There was one that was 2 nights in a row.
I don't know if y'all have seen any calls about it, but I've had some pretty irate people that I've towed their tractor trailers, and those are not cheap to get back once they get hooked up to a record.
So I should send the pictures to you.
Absolutely, if you
And
have
not
some,
you and you.
I'll send my guys out there, we'll get things here.
Yeah, we don't mind, and like Donnie said, one of the issues we run into the issue or the problem of issuing warnings, and the way that warnings from the court officers are written. They'll move their vehicle for a day or two, and then they bring it back, and you have to issue a new warning, and it gives them another grace period. Whereas now, Donnie and I have had it where we know if they're a repeat offender, and we just tow their truck, they learn their lesson a little quicker that way, because it's an expensive lesson, or will be. And I think it's gonna take some time for that word to get out there again, that you know what, these guys aren't as nice as they used to be, they're not messing around.
Well, and I think 1 or 2 that you've had towed or almost towed, I think it's kind of nipped it in the bud.
Well, I would tell you that if they hook up to that truck, but they come out before they get away with it, it costs them $500. It's over $1,000 if they actually haul that truck away from them. So it's not cheap, so people are learning.
And see, and I'd like to just address it to the citizens of Pecos that what we're trying to do is take care of our streets. Very much needed repairs, and this is gonna cost more. If we don't be proactive now, the cost, and we're gonna have to raise some kind of tax to offset the cost of repairing all this. It's not cheap, So it's not that we're trying to be mean or uncooperative with people, but it's just a common fact, you know.
Well, and possibly what we can do is I can work with Edward and put together like a PSA that we can put out, to make sure that we're putting it out to all of our citizens, kind of like the note that you talked about earlier, Councilman Rowan,
Yeah.
on the water bill, just to let everybody know that the way that we're handling stuff is changing. We are beginning to enforce, some of our ordinances that we, relaxed on during COVID, and we're starting to get back and take care of business the way.
One more. The trucking that's over on the other side of the Locust and A Street.
On
to
A
the
Street?
east, Yeah.
Yes, directional signage will go directly to them.
They're still be coming into Locust, or
They actually will have to come in for 285.
it's gonna be a tight turn?
And I remember you bringing that up before, that if they're turning onto, you're talking about them coming over the tracks. Have you seen?
Oh, yeah.
You're out there, and
I wish they would go to 285, you know, really, I do, you know. My
Well-
mom lives on Locust, and she's constantly complaining to me, so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta
Yeah,
defend
and
this.
you know, those trucks have taken out both sides
Yeah.
of the railroad track guardrails
Uh-huh.
that have been out for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't have any control of that, so I know exactly, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
what you're saying.
No, just checking to make
as
sure
far
it's going in that direction, because there's no other option, really.
That was the ideal option,
Mhm.
was straight to
285.
285. I was trying to recall what's on the corner there, is that little business, but I can't recall.
I can't
How
recall,
wide,
yeah.
I want to say it's wider going south than it is north.
Yeah, it is.
On
It
that
is.
turn radius.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I've noticed that too. We had a broke pole there during one of the storms, and I just sat there, and one truck tried making a right turn
Yeah.
going north, and he had to go wide and
Yeah.
into the other lanes oncoming. So,
I'll
Did you have
I'll look at that once more.
Where
and-
he's talking about on like A Street, that turn off of 285, I mean, that's gonna be a nightmare. So I see
For
what you're saying.
access from
To go to that trucking company that's back
Wild
there.
West, Wild West to 285.
Yes.
Well,
And so
hopefully-
I'll happily look at,
I mean, there's no other option, really. It's either
There's no
Locust or
well,
that
so
way.
the issue, so the issue is, you don't have that radius turning
Mhm.
either on Third Street. It's, which one is worst case scenario
Mhm.
here? Because both of them, neither one of them are meant for that turn radius at all. It's residential access.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah,
with
or
Lincoln Street.
Yeah,
domestic
that's-
vehicle
that's-
access.
House across the street's gonna lose their fence one day.
Yeah.
So it is something,
All right, okay. We can beat it to death. We'll see about it.
well, I mean, we can look at it again,
No,
but
but-
that's, I want to say that was what we had,
Yeah.
that's why we were looking at
Mhm.
285. It was like, well, you don't have it here.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many stop signs we lose on each one of those streets
Yeah.
that get taken out continually by the turning A2ers on all of those. They just come down Second Street and
And the thing is, they hit stuff and just keep going.
they do. That's
Mhm.
exactly
What can we
right.
put up that's bigger than them?
Yeah, we just put the breakaways in. That helps a little bit, but,
No, drilling
No.
pipe,
well,
Yeah.
that would be, yes.
mean, I know.
But it's mean.
Whatever the council prefers.
But,
We will
but the
accommodate.
thing is, they don't always stop and acknowledge that they've done damage.
Mhm.
And especially when it's personal property, then those property owners are out the cost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when it happens over and over, you can understand. I mean, when it happens once, you're frustrated, much less if it's replace it, and then it happens again. And again, when no one's taking responsibility for it, unless you're gonna put cameras and everything else up to catch whoever's doing it.
And so, well, the cat's out of the bag. We're trying to put the cat back in the bag. It is. I
And
mean,
he's
so-
fighting and clawing.
Huh?
And he's fighting and clawing.
He is, and so there might
He's
be
a
another
feral cat.
solution. We'll definitely get out there and look at it again and see, and definitely talk again with Wild West.
Yeah, well, maybe when they build the truck reliever route, maybe they'll be able to go.
I'm hoping that road would continue.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that
would solve it.
That would solve it. That would.
Yeah.
But we're ways off from that.
Yeah.
We're starting, so this, it's first step.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 23-05-02 and ordinance amending Chapter 58 Traffic and Vehicles of the Municipal Code of Ordinances. First reading is presented by Holly Jaraki, Community Service Director.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Arona to accept the ordinance amending Chapter 58, Traffic and Vehicles of the Municipal Code of Ordinance, first reading, and I have a second by Councilwoman Seals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The record show the motion carries.
Thank you.
Item F14, discuss future Pecos Municipal Criminal Justice Center construction.
Mayor, Council, Lisa Tarango, Chief of Police. As you know, 2 weeks ago, we discussed the future of the building, so just to keep the fire hot, I have reached out, as some of you may know, some of the area agencies, Crane, Monahans, Andrews, Scurry, Gaines, all of them have new facilities, so I'm kind of picking their brains on the good and the bad of some of the construction people they have and architects. I'm kind of looking at it like designing a house. You got to start first with the property. Mr. Lino and I have had some discussions about, are we dead set on the property where we're at? And the answer is, what other nice options do we have? So there may be another option, though, that Mr. Lino's kind of been discussing, and I guess in the future we'll bring that back to you. But just to let you know, it's kind of the process has started just to kind of start vetting different contractors, architects, and potential property that we might be able to use. So it's a kind of a scary venture, but we did take Ms. Seal's advice. We duct taped, we super glued stuff that we can. So we're going to try to see what we can do, at least for the next couple of years, to not invest a whole lot of money into the facility that we do have. But any investments we are making, I'm making sure they're mobile so they can go to a new facility if we have to.
Can we budget some super glue and Gorilla Glue and duct tape?
Duct taping.
Budget amendment?
For the next 2 years?
We can.
Extra supplies?
Yes. So with that, being said, just kind of wanted to bend your ear a little bit, let you know kind of some of the vetting process that I'm starting to do with different groups. I did get some advice from another agency that said, find a vendor out of Texas because they know your environment, they know your atmosphere, they know what the Texas jail standards are, so that's definitely some good advice that I'm going to take.
From out of state?
No, from
Texas.
Texas.
Okay, no,
Yes.
I misheard. I
thought she said out of state, too.
Yeah, I said, huh?
From Texas, so that way we make sure that we comply with the jail standards for the state of Texas as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the Troy Vines property larger or the same size as for the?
It is larger. I know that there's been discussions about multiple options for the Troy Vines area.
Yes.
The EDC, what the chief is referring to is the EDC's, we're in discussion right now for the property that's just south of the hospital. It's bigger than what we have now. And the EDC, in the conversations that I've had, is very interested in having maybe a new building there. And they would kind of like it to be our police station. We haven't done anything besides having preliminary discussions. But if we were to do that, it would give us an opportunity where we left our current facility as is until we had a new one built. We wouldn't have to relocate at one time instead of trying to move temporary facilities and stuff like that. So we're exploring that option. Chief and I are looking at it. The one thing that we really have to keep an eye on is from a logistics standpoint and ease of access as well as the type of facility would it accommodate. So above and beyond everything else, we have to make something that's going to last for a long time and that it's strategically placed so that it can accommodate that. I mean, if it was right south of the hospital, there's a lot of synergies that go on between the hospital and the police department. So it may be an opportunity that we can look at. And I think we can swing it for a very good price with maybe a line swap or something like that. So,
The only reason I was thinking of Troy Vines was they'd keep it close to the animal shelter.
absolutely.
That kind of
Yes,
thing.
ma'am.
And I know there's been this discussion of some things possibly being done on that property, but, you know, again, maybe a little bit of a land swap, maybe that project could be done closer to the interstate.
Absolutely,
So-
totally agree. No, yeah, and I don't think there is, these are all preliminary discussions. And it could be because the Troy Vines area is significantly bigger than what we have.
But if they move to another location, that project could still maybe end up there, closer
Yeah.
to the interstate.
Yeah, absolutely, and it would.
So,
What would be the status of the old location? What would we do with that if we moved it?
Well, once we were to build a new location, it would have to be raised and repurposed. Because right now, as Chief talked about last time, it's gonna cost,
15.
$15.5 million to renovate and 16.2 to build a new facility. And, it would be foolish to build, to renovate what we have, because right now we're already out of space. Chief and I talked because we're green, and we want to expand the capacity of our jail because we have a great deal of commercial service, and if we can increase our capacity, we have an opportunity to increase the amount of prisoners that we hold.
And no one wants to live through construction.
No, it's a nightmare when you're doing that. And with that, if we were to renovate, we don't have a lot of options to expand. And it would be we would be giving them exactly what they have now, just a little more structurally sound.
I like the Troy Vines location better because we're fixing to run out of room on the frontage roads. And, you know, that's ideal for commercial businesses paying sales tax to come in. Of course, that area there south of the hospital hasn't drawn much interest so far.
It's drawn zero, and that's one of the reasons why Ken and I had the conversation, and he was saying, I may have something for you, when we were talking about this. So that's the reason that we bring it up. We don't have anything firm. It's going to come back to you all before we do that, do anything like that, but I just want to make sure that we're making the right decision.
But even if you did that land swap sort of, maybe that land swap, part of it would take place later after the current was raised.
It would.
And that could still give the same commercial opportunities.
Yeah. That's why I was
on the
asking the
service road
status of the old place.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's exactly what my discussions with Ken were, is that once we tore it down, that we could just flip the land then, and he would take EDC, not he, but EDC would take a little bit smaller parcel of land for the larger parcel of land and just
Call it even.
But it would be, and it would give us an opportunity, because they don't have people biting at their heels trying to get the property right now. They tried it, they did a great deal. I mean, the price that they were offering out there was great, but no takers. And there was a couple of deals that fell through. And so it doesn't do the EDC any good just to hold land either. It's much better if they can move the land and get it.
So that's it. Just kind of wanted to let you know, I'm gonna keep coming back every few weeks and I'll.
So when you're talking with these other locations, they told you what companies have come through for them, which ones haven't?
Yes.
Timelines, who followed, kept in budget,
Yes.
all those good things.
And right now I'm looking at different architects that have been used. You know, they specifically would say, don't use this person because now that city or county is suing the company because of construction or architect design, whatever it may be. So, like I said, I'm getting the good and the bad to see which ones, because ideally, I guess they all can give a really good spiel when it's that time, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I've really vetted the people in the process before I come to you with
They already have a good
the
established
steps.
reputation.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess we'd have to float some bonds to get, once we get ready to go.
So I know that Mr. Lino and I had discussed that before, and he said that there may be some COs and some grants with the USDA and maybe some low-interest loans, and haven't even crossed the bond issue just yet, hoping that we can find other avenues.
So I think COs would be a good alternative because you've got that revenue to place back on them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So it's, we're looking for different avenues, but I do know that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has the low interest loans for facilities, and Congressman Gonzalez's office has been really good to kind of let us know for, ahead of time of some grants that can be available for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item F16, update on hot funding provided for the Born in Denver film.
Popcorn movie time?
Not yet.
Not
Oh.
yet.
Mayor and
They're
Council,
getting close.
this is kind of the same information that I've tentatively shared, but we didn't do it the way that we were supposed to last night, so we're bringing it back just to have a conversation.
Ooh, I forgot that was there.
That would not have been a good thing.
Just to give you that update, we do not have the trailer, we do not have the link yet to share with you all the film itself. I'm still told it's going to accommodate what you all asked for, but I want to see it before I leave it at 100%. But they used all but the $20 $80 that they have, that you all granted for them, and it was used the way that they had told us it was going to be.
I haven't seen him in town lately.
He's been up in Denver a lot.
Okay.
I mean, his dad is up there, and I know that's where he commutes back and forth. But I don't know. He said he does want to, and he's been in. I think they did the final film piece of it, or cutting. I don't know what it is, what a production piece of it. It was in Arkansas somewhere. So he's anxious to get it done and complete, and he's promised me that we will get a premiere here in town. I don't know how we're going to show it besides on that wall. But we'll figure that out. But in order to make it official with our conversation that we had when we were talking about the hot piece, and I gave an update, that's the reason this agenda item is on there, to make sure that we have it notated and formalized the way that the funds were used. Any questions on that?
I had forgotten about this.
Nickname, you said other $80, cut the feral cat out.
We'll wait to see the.
Wait to see the film and see how well it represents our town.
Yeah. The title doesn't do me much.
It doesn't do any of us any good. He said that it was that because that's where he was born, and hopefully I don't have any movie makers in here, but just I know my son. Movie makers are a little weird. Okay.
Should be my visit to Pecos.
Yeah. Absolutely, and he's talking more or less about the industry out here and everything that's happened here in Bitcoin, and how Bitcoin just chose it here and migrated. They do have some, he said, in Denver, but it's really the nexus of everything is down here.
I gotta laugh.
Good or bad.
The Bitcoins are.
Well, but they're coming back up again right now. But still, I don't know how. I mean, the issue that I see. I mean, we've actually had the one that initially came that we went out and saw their facility. Kevin Pan reach out and wanted to schedule another meeting with us to talk about incentives and stuff like that the city may have. Well, what my conversation is going to be is, you build an office building here, we can give incentives.
Mm-hmm.
You build something in Bio or in Pecos County, you're not getting nothing from me.
Or my man.
That guy, Lucas, he used to work here.
Lucas?
Yeah, I visited with him one time in the Bark Park, and he was telling me they're using natural gas to
Well, that's what Kevin's talking about, is flaring natural gas and looking at natural gas and also at flare gas that they're trying to develop. They've actually done something. When I looked at the company website, they're actually trying to put that in as one of their business components in there, to where they're trying to come up with some proprietary methods of utilizing gas.
We went to that. Remember, we went to that spill at the middle of Horseshoe Arena.
Yeah.
What they do, they capture the methane gas and for fuel to generate a power up a generator, which in turn provides power to the miners. And so they're able to use that sour gas instead of releasing it up in the air. So-
Yeah, and they're trying to do it and come up with a method that makes it to where it is a viable option to utilize. I mean, because it does. It's not just a matter of put a balloon up there and suck it up and come in and bring it in. I mean, it's an intricate process.
So are they using that for their cooling?
No.
No,
Or
because
for their generate their power?
for power. And
I know
This
they use-
generates the cooling though.
the strange thing
The
about the
cooling,
Bitcoin
how do you get the
people-
cooling?
It's in a bath of water.
Yeah, with cooling, theirs are liquid cooled because they're dipped in a
Mineral oil.
non-conductive.
Well, and
liquid.
we went out to that one, and they actually have a big pond that they use evaporative coolers too.
Yeah,
And they use a lot of water.
yeah. And there's one that's up here on, I don't know the county road,
2119.
2119.
Yeah, Duval Road.
And that one, I don't know that it is up and functional yet.
They even-
I think they put the hiatus on it.
Yeah,
They're
they
a
shut-
publicly traded Bitcoin.
I think it went under is what
Yeah.
Lucas said.
Yeah.
But they even shut down the power to
Yeah.
all three that were active. at
I
one
mean, the
time.
facility was cool. I went up there and saw it before. It was
Humongous.
operational. It was nice, but
Didn't make it.
that's all I had to share on this. Any questions related to how the money was used or?
No, it's pretty explanatory.
Yeah, it is. They did a good job of
Yes, sir.
of the reporting and the feedback that they did, so.
Use them as an example.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing else? Thank you.
Okay, we will go into executive session under Government Code Section 55071, consultation with attorney, 55072, real estate, 55074, personnel issues, 55087, economic development, and it is 7:11.